All right, here we go. This is probably one of the most important things that I just struggle to get people to do all the time that we don't work with. And they just don't want to understand how important, how critical it is to their mission to do three things, okay? And they'll do some of them, but they don't usually do all of them, or they don't do all of them consistently, so they never come even close to their complete potential. And first one is, this is from The Laws of Success by Napoleon Hill. He talks about have a definite chief aim. It's very similar to something else that Tony Robbins always talks about, and the fact that decisions shape our life, right? So that decision that we're talking about right now is a goal, all right? So step one, you have to have a goal. If you don't have a goal on like your big, whatever, your big dream, you don't have goals in place, how do you really know if you're making any progress, right? And then step two, I mean, the decision thing, like to go into the office here, just about any one of these books, like there's The Law of Success, but you got Tony Robbins' book over here. Most of those books that are on the shelf right there, they're going to talk about decisions. They're going to talk about goals. One of the other things they're going to talk about is step two, and that's the primary focus of this video, is tracking. If you don't track your results or your process, then, and simplify it. I'm not saying to like overcomplicate this, but simplify the important things that you're doing and track that so that you understand where you are in the journey. And I can tell you right now, I'll even give you a quick example here, and I'm going to let's see if I can do this without showing you too much. Okay, so here's our tracking, some of our tracking sheets. And if you look, right, you see like there's, if we look on the side, there's this one right here where there's a ton of sheets. That's just one person. And that's just for this year, right? I think it's maybe for the last 12 months or so. So that's a lot of sheets. There's 4 workouts in every one of those sheets. Let me say that again. There's 4 workouts on every one of those sheets. Let's look at it again. Right? All these other ones, not much. Look at all these workouts right here. That's a lot, right? All right, who do you think is, if not the most successful, one of the most successful people that's in that log? All right, there's a ton of Division I athletes in there, pro athletes in there, former athletes in there. So who do you think is having, like, is that person you think in the top tier? Yeah. They're tracking it, right? I'm not sure if they're doing step 3 as well as they could be, but they're definitely doing step 1 and step 2, or at least doing step 2. Now, tracking is important, but you need to know what you're tracking. Tracking the vital few things that are a part of like your, your core process or your outcomes, or the things that you think are going to be important to stack up in order to get you to your goal. Now, the step 3 that I was talking about is reviewing those systematically and periodically. Meaning, if you're working out twice a week, 3 times a week, 4 times a week, 5, 6, whatever, however many times a week, you at least want to do a monthly review, but it probably makes the most sense to do a weekly review. Some do a daily review. And it's quick though, but they'll look at the key performance indicators and then they'll kind of adjust accordingly. Now, if you're not tracking any of this stuff, can you adjust accordingly? No, it's kind of a crapshoot. But this is normal. This is the way that most people progress and stuff. And the thing is, this is the way that a lot of people do life. They don't just do their sports like this, they do school like this, then they do their work like this. Now, if you're somebody who's coaching, if you're going to be good at coaching, you have to get clear on your goals for working with your athletes or your students or whoever you're working with. You got to get clear on what you're going to track to make sure that you're seeing whether or not they're making progress. And if it's going to be something that you're tracking, it better be something that's, directly, or at least like pretty directly related to their success or what they're trying to achieve. You need to make sure it's also something that's safe, that's sustainable, and that's progressive, right? So, and you need to be clear on what their goal is. So again, get that definite chief aim, make a decision on what the goal is and the smaller goals, track it, and then step 3 is make adjustments along the way. Like, have a set time when you're reviewing these things so you can make adjustments and then, adapt and overcome, so to speak. But here's the thing, most people won't do this. They won't even do this later in life. This is where it's easy, and I used to get upset about this. I used to get upset that like, man, more people don't do this. But when you realize that most people don't do this, it's just most massively successful people do this. Very, very few don't do that. The ones that don't do it, they actually have their own way of doing it, but it looks like they're not doing it, which is kind of funny because it's the same thing. But not to make that too confusing, but everybody's doing it really. So that are really achieving. And you see, like Michael Phelps, great example. What was he doing? He was getting very, very analytical about stuff. And this is huge. But he was putting it into practice regularly. He was doing the work. He wasn't just up here. He was also, one step after another. And he had somebody helping him out as a coach, and making those adjustments and making those decisions on what do we adjust, what do we tweak kind of here or there, so that we keep on optimizing and progressing. Because there's always something that could be better, right? There's always something, wow, this is incredible, but this could be better. What would make it better? Asking yourself those questions. But if you don't have a definite chief aim, if you haven't been tracking the key performance indicators or your key processes, then you're not going to know what you need to adjust, because you're not going to know realistically where you are. So again, you don't have to track everything, but track the most important things. And again, like simplify it down to the most important moving parts and then the controllables. You can track the things you can't control, but like even a lot of the things that you can't control are things that you can indirectly control, you can impact. So like a lot of people will be like, all right, well, what about biofeedback? Like heart rate and brain wave and like all these other things like blood sugar level. Well, no, you don't really control them, but you do kind of control them, right? They'll adjust based on what you do. So you indirectly impact that, and then your body gives you feedback on what you're doing. They're like, hey, listen, this isn't working, buddy. Or, hey, great job. Like you dropped this number, or this number came up. But tracking and not tracking at certain times, are you going to be able to go back consistently and compare and contrast to see kind of where you are? And if you make a game of it and it gets fun, then all of a sudden, like you get kind of, like a lot of times you get addicted to it, and it's a good thing because you're trying to hit a goal. So why would you not want to be committed and potentially addicted to that thing that's positive? So, but this should be in other areas of life too. This isn't just in athletics, but this is the same thing with your academics. Like, what is your main class? What is your major in school? What do you plan on doing for a job? And how are you going to, track what you're working on with that? How are you going to get feedback on whether or not it's working or not working? How are you going to make adjustments? What's that going to look like? And when you practice this in sports, in athletics, or in whatever recreational thing that you're doing, it's going to carry over into the other things. But again, and like I said, I used to get frustrated because so many people don't do this, but look at it as a massive opportunity because other people aren't doing this. This gives you incredible leverage. If you're that person that is looking to be comparatively successful, if they're not doing something that is so huge to helping and you are, what an advantage that is. And trust me, it's an advantage that is promoted and enhanced through consistency. And some people will do it periodically, but they won't do it consistently, or they might do it persistently until they get whatever mini goal that they have, but then they don't stick with it. It's over. There's very few that are consistent, and that's why there's very few that have lifelong success. So if you're looking for it to be in athletics, academics, or whatever area, you have to have that definite chief aim. You need to track the key performance indicators or the key processes, and then you need to review, adjust, and adapt. I know that was helpful. I hope you use it, or I hope you can convince the people in your life to use it. If you want somebody else in your life to be using it, they have to see you doing it. If they don't see you doing it, chances are they're going to say, wait a second, this person doesn't even believe what they're saying, so why should I listen?